think it's going already. Yep. Ready to get this shit show over with?
Well, if we're talking about turkey season, it's going to be a real short shit show.
Yeah. I don't know lengthwise, but activity-wise or accolades from the season, definitely pretty short.
For sure.
Yeah. So this is more of a sob story than anything, I think. People are going to be like, wow, you started an outdoor podcast and your deer season was shit, your turkey season was shit. It's like all you ever do is post pictures of bass.
You know, I keep forgetting to tell you, but when I brought my shotgun back in from turkey hunting, I didn't even have any shells in it. I'd never loaded it. There's how bad turkey season was.
Jeez. Now, you had a box of shells sitting out.
I know. I guess I never put any shells in it.
Oh my!
I brought it back to unload it, and it was like, there's no shells in here.
Oh man, that would have been freaking horrible. Imagine that. Gosh.
I'm surprised the turkey didn't show up because that'd be just my luck. You know, Big Tom comes out there and I'm ready to shoot, and it's click.
Yeah. Well, I made a joke too about because I sat my gun over by yours when we were sitting up in the deer stand, and you're like, you wouldn't want that to happen. And I was like, oh, coming from the guy who doesn't have his crossbow loaded half the time when the deer come out, and you didn't have your freaking shotgun loaded.
Yeah, I've been meaning to tell you that. It's crazy. I was like, wow.
We ought to just stop the podcast right there because that should just sum up 90% of what happened, which was a whole lot of nothing.
Well, no doubt.
Yeah, I guess before the season started, we saw, I don't know how many birds it was, but that field, I don't know, a mile or so down from us on the county road. How many birds were out there? Probably 6 or so, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
So that looked, I guess, rolling into the season, we were pretty optimistic because there was already a tom out there strutting, and I'm sure, you know, there were jakes or other toms out there with them.
And seeing the toms here and the jakes going across the field, and
so like if anyone keeps up to date with my Instagram or YouTube, I posted pretty much all the videos of them walking right out in front of the house or behind the house or just all over the place. I mean, they were popping up all over, and I don't know that any of them were hens. It was pretty much all toms and jakes, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was another crazy thing this year is, you know, before when you're out there hunting, you know, it seemed like almost every day, but I know it wasn't. In the years past, we'd see hens cutting through, you know, after the morning hunt to go to their nest or whatever. But
yeah,
this year didn't even see maybe one.
Yeah. So speak on last year. Last year when I was sitting like down in the woods down there in the turkey chair or whatever, I had a hen literally like brush my back. She got that freaking close. And that was like the first week of season. But yeah, this year, I think, remember when we were heading into town one day around like noon or so, I saw that one on the property across the road that was running down in there. Cause I was like, turkey. And you're like, that's a buzzard up in the tree. I'm like, no, on the ground. Yeah. So yeah, I think that was the only one though. I didn't even hear them or anything. You know, sometimes we'll hear them from a ways off. I don't even remember hearing any.
Yeah, that was the other part too, was, you know, if they were talking and it, you know, did any kind of calling saying I'm here, then they would just shut up. Like they didn't even want to hear it.
Yeah.
And you know, that was another thing too, with not seeing hens, then that means we weren't hearing any hens either. To even know if they were talking. But I don't know, even the last weekend, you know, Lyndon was here, so I took him out there and we sat in the morning and had some, you know, one was actually pretty close down there. You know, he's gobbling fairly decent. And I gave him a call, and he called a little, and as soon as he called, it just shut up. I mean, completely stopped saying anything.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I don't know. But I think it was yesterday or the day before, I was driving down the county road, and right at the edge of our property, They were actually a little further on in Bob's road ditch, but there were three male turkeys. I couldn't see the beard to tell what they were. All I could tell is they had red heads, and they were fairly decent size. So
Yeah.
there were still three right there, but that was the first ones that I've seen in quite a while.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too that's kind of messed about that, like that might be normal if you've got like a lot of hunting pressure around, but literally like the one neighbor's the only other turkey hunter. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
3 people that hunt thousands of acres. So it's definitely not a pressure thing.
No, and
I
they're
don't
they're using our property to pass through to go from across the county road to the north. And across the county road, yeah, there's what 500 some acres over there that wasn't even getting hunted.
right. Yeah, I actually think it might have gotten hunted or I can't even freaking talk. Someone was hunting over there last year, I think one weekend, that I just learned from like a Facebook post. But yeah, otherwise there's never anyone over there for deer or
Yeah.
turkey season. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the weather, staying cold or what. I mean, we didn't, we I think we've mentioned this before. Last year's turkey season was pretty rough too, but
Yeah.
I at least had an opportunity at a tom that just didn't end up working out. But and even he, I mean, he was responding to a call and stuff, but he wasn't entertaining it. Like he was just kind of working his own path while he was answering it. Yeah, this year is like it's kind of like the deer season, like probably the worst yet.
Yeah.
The other thing too that I started thinking about was normally like where they're when they're gobbling in the morning on the roost, they normally sound a lot closer than they did this year. Whereas like pretty much every time we heard them, where they were like way off.
Which I mean, they could have been. I don't know.
Yeah, because I know the one day we got pretty excited because it was I think the last week of the season. Uh, they sounded like they were just right down inside the woods off of our property, but that was like the only day that I remember them being that close. Pretty much everything else was super far away.
Well, and the thing with to the north there too, where they were at, there's a lot of deep ravines and stuff down in there that they may sound far off because they're on the back
True.
side of that ravine, and then if they start coming up there, then they're going to sound like they're closer, and then they just maybe keep going back and forth through,
Right.
because
Yeah.
that's definitely going to change their tone of how far away they sound.
Right. And then I guess we had that one day we went and sat down in the woods, uh, where we don't normally hunt at all.
Right.
And they were answering really good that day. I think they were actually answering to your calls. Uh,
And there were several across there.
yeah, there were probably, I know there were at least 4, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, they weren't too far off either. And then they were answering for I don't know, 2.5 hours or so, but just I think one Jake ended up making his way closer, and you could kind of tell he was a Jake because he sounded like shit.
Right.
Uh, and then that's what I told people when I went to work because they were asking about turkey season. I'm like, man, we busted our ass. We had decoys out for that and calling like crazy for hours and couldn't even get a damn Jake to come in. Like it's
Well, and I
ridiculous.
I took, my vest has got several different calls in it, and I had like 4 or 5 out just trying different ones to see
Yeah,
if it was going to make a difference, and nothing made a difference.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I, I don't know.
I can only hope maybe next year, since all the planning strategies and everything's going to be different around here with hopefully not having any exposed soil, so maybe they'll come out and start feeding in the field a little more instead of having to stay cooped up in the woods and browsing in there. So
Yeah, I think that's going to be the goal moving forward. Just
it ought to
make
make a
it,
difference.
yeah, make it to where they have to come through. That's the thing. If you can get that set up to where they're wanting to strut out there and stuff like that instead of just
Yeah.
passing through.
Well, and I think that's the bad part this year is I'd already started working up ground, but it was nothing but dirt out there.
Yeah,
They're not going to want to come out there in that. Or if it rained, there's some days it rained, there's nothing but mud that,
right.
they don't trample through that if they don't have to. But if you can give them a nice little green patch out there that they can come out there and eat some bugs or or the clover or something, strut, and yeah, entice them a little more to want to get out there. I mean,
Right.
it's just trying to do the same thing with them as what we want to do with the deer. You got to have something out there that's going to entice them and keep them out there, bring them out there.
Right.
That's the
So
that's the plans for this year. So
that last week of season, we'd already gone back to the house because they weren't gobbling or anything at all. Or no, we
oh,
actually I think that's that same day I was talking about. They sounded close, and we were just getting ready to leave, and then you saw something cross through a path down, on the neighbor's property into our woods, or I guess the edge of his woods. I think that was that same day. So we sat out there, I don't know, hour and a half longer, and you tried calling to him, didn't hear anything, nothing else was talking. So we made our way back to the house, and then probably I started making breakfast and stuff. Probably 30 minutes sitting in the house. Then it was 6 turkeys, wasn't it? We saw crossing right across the field.
yeah, Jake's.
Yeah, there was.
And one of them might have been a Tom.
I think one was definitely a Tom, and one of them was like borderline because it was a really short beard, but it was double bearded. So I don't know if it's a double bearded Jake or what. That's pretty rare, I think. But its beard was like maybe 6 inches. So
yeah, I wish I had my phone in my hand and could have videoed that, but we're trying to
yeah,
control the dog too because the dog was
yeah. So
going.
they
She's
came
the one that
out.
spots them for us.
Yeah, she spotted him, scared him back into the woods, and once we got her calmed down, they ended up coming back out and going all the way
Yeah.
across the field. But yeah, that same day, I remember asking you, like, from I guess an ethical standpoint, like your thoughts on, because some states allow you to hunt with a rifle during turkey season, like whether you thought that'd be a good idea or not. Because like in that situation, like we probably could have shot a couple of them with, whatever caliber rifle would have been effective. I mean, that's probably 100 yards or something like that. Something that's going to be effective and not totally mangle the bird where you can't take anything off of it. But yeah, just like what your thoughts would be as far as allowing rifle hunting during turkey season, or maybe a portion of the turkey season where you could do that in case of, stuff like we're going through where you're not even going to be able to call them in close enough to get a shot with a shotgun or a bow, I guess.
Well, I guess the biggest problem with that, and I kind of understand in a sense why they don't let you do it, because they actually make you quit coyote hunting with a gun during turkey season. Is
Right.
because people are all cameled up out there hunting, and you don't know exactly where they're at.
Right.
So you start shooting in directions down the woods where maybe some turkeys are calling or whatever, and there's a hunter down there, and you end up shooting somebody. So I understand that part of it. But like with us around here, we know who's out here hunting. The neighbor, we don't know exactly where he's at, but if that was the case, we wouldn't be shooting in his direction because we know he's over there.
Right.
But we've got several different other directions out here in a wide open area that I think it would be beneficial for us just because we have a lot more open ground. We don't have all the woods that the turkeys are wanting to stay in when they're
Yeah.
strutting and gobbling. So it's pretty much an open field. So yeah,
And it's small property too, to where you can't walk around and, pinpoint the birds exactly. You can't get them off the roost or anything like that because we don't really have the
right.
hardwoods that they're hanging up in.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing. I see why they do it in a sense, and like I said, as far as stopping the coyote hunting too, because of the same aspect. But
That's
I don't
probably
know.
something else we should touch on, is that we saw more coyotes during turkey season than we probably did all of deer season.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I had the 270 sitting right there and couldn't use it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
there'd been a couple of coyotes knocked down, but
Yeah, I know. I don't, yeah. I mean, I guess I get it, but yeah, it's just goofy. I think all the calling and stuff is really what brings all the predators in too. And then one of the,
well, yeah, it could have been why we were seeing some coyotes too, is the calling and bringing in
right.
the predator.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was sitting down, pretty much the same scenario like I talked about last year with that hen brushing my back. Like it was like opening morning. I had a coyote do that to me. Just walk. You saw him come in one way, and he ended up going around, and he ended up slipping right up against me. Kind of scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
they
there was
were.
that one morning this year too that young bobcat came through.
I actually think that was the same morning we saw uh those six that crossed the
Yeah,
field.
could have been. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but it was somewhere at the same time that week. But yeah, pretty much all season we were seeing predators.
Yeah.
So definitely something else to consider if we're having a hard time turkey. I That's the other thing too. You'll hear people talk about having flocks of 20 and 30 walking around at a time. As
Yeah.
much ground and as little hunting pressure as there is, I ought to think we should be seeing bigger flocks than we are too.
I
So maybe
agree.
maybe that's something else to consider. With tracking season and stuff like that, just try to hammer them a little harder. And I mentioned to you, I think last night, trying to get permission on neighbors' property around there, just so I can do a little better job of it. Um, Especially because we are on a smaller piece of ground and there's a lot of land around. That maybe I could make the population a little better for in the spring, so we're getting some more encounters, stuff like that.
Yeah, because especially after seeing that bobcat last night,
Yeah,
I mean that was a big cat. I mean, there is no doubt this thing was a lot bigger than that big Tom you got. I mean,
wow,
this cat was huge.
wow, yeah. Because the one I got was a giant, so for anything to be
Yeah,
bigger,
the
that's
pictures on this just doesn't do it justice. I mean, it was a big cat, and there was I forget how many was out there. There was at least 4, maybe 5 deer over at the feeder. So that's kind of what the bobcat was doing. It was kind of looking over there, watching them as they were moving around. The deer were watching him, and because I guarantee you it was a tom, as big as it was.
mhm.
And he just slowly strolled across the field, keeping an eye on the deer, and the deer ended up blowing out. They were gone, and then he just kept going across the field.
So he came out where I trapped all those ones at.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
That's
I
wild.
mean, it seems like that's the area where he came out. I don't know. I didn't see
But that
exactly
general
where.
vicinity.
Yeah, yeah. But my
Huh.
goodness, a big cat. Whew.
Well, it keeps me excited though for trapping season. Get
Yeah,
another one.
another big one. Yeah, that whew,
Hmm.
something else.
Yeah, because that's the thing too. Out of the three I got, only one was a tom. So there's got to be more males, you know, because with them, the males are what's going to end up getting bigger. Got to be some more big ones around there.
Yeah, and they're cats. They when they have babies, Lord only knows how many they'll have.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure some of them aren't going to survive, but
One other thing I just remembered too to mention, I pulled up this article. So
I
it
don't need to put
said,
my glasses on for this.
no, I'll just read it off.
Okay.
It said this year we had a total harvest of 36,251 turkeys.
Oh,
And
MDC.
yeah, well, this is someone else posting it, but it's from NBC. And last year we had 34,595. So we're up 5% this year, but over the last 5 years, it's about 7% lower than the average spring harvest.
Hmm.
So I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but I mean, I would think, kind of leading to definitely something going on, whether that's hunting pressure, lack of habitat, predation. I mean, I don't know if we still are, but we had the highest turkey population of any state. So for us to be going the wrong direction, I don't I don't know if that's intentional, for maybe they want to control the population more or what. I don't really know. But that was another thing that I remember mentioning too, was that, like, if we could do that, or say they only allow it on private land with the rifle, that potentially I'd be okay with just getting one turkey tag instead of two, if I at least have the opportunity to kill one.
Yeah, I agree with that also.
Yeah, but I think there's ways you could do it,
Yeah,
and I think
it's
there's
not
ways you
about
could.
just going out there and slaughtering all the turkeys. I mean, I'd be
Exactly.
good with, like I said, I'd be good with one. Just you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
like
just like to
steak.
get one.
Yeah, I mean they're fun. They're hard to hunt, but
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
I don't know. I think another thing too, mentioning like trying to get some permission trapping on other properties too, is maybe we talk to some of the other landowners around that since there's not that many people hunting, maybe we could get permission, slip in on other people's ground too, try and get a bird since there is no one there.
Yeah.
Just kind of open up our opportunity a little more. That way we're not just stuck to one spot where they're not responding or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing with the ones across the county road. You're pulling them through a fence, like it's a barbed wire fence
Yeah.
on their side, then across the county road, and then part of our field is barbed wire, or down the woods. There's nothing there, but yeah, it's not too easy to try to call them across all that.
Right.
But some of the mornings during the week, people are going to work, so there's a lot of traffic in the morning. But cars up and down the road.
That's the thing. If you could get on, rip my headphone out. If you could get on, someone's property that's off the road, like the ones we saw before season, how far off the road they were, get tucked back in there or whatever, where they're not getting bothered by any of those loud noises or anything like that, or like not too far from your all's house, there's someone building a shed or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I mean, if they're up on the roofs and they hear that stuff first thing, they're not going to want to go that way. So,
Yeah. Well, at least that's finally done. They finally got the tin on it and it's done.
oh, that's good. Until the next project or the next
Yeah.
neighbor decides to do something.
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
Well,
That's the thing too. Last season, we had that, and I got that chance with that one or whatever. And you all were building your house then. We were only getting to hunt till like 8 o'clock because contractors were showing up to do all the work and stuff. So
right. Yeah.
that's kind of the messed up part. It was nice and calm. I mean, calm compared to last year. I don't know. Yeah, definitely got some stuff to think about for next year.
Well, and like I said, hopefully with changing the land of what we're doing out here, hopefully that's going to help and bring them in more too. Because spring green up starts, and it's usually around the time when turkey season is. If you got something out there that's gonna, they can, like I said, get some bugs or nutrition or something from a clover field or whatever.
Right.
Just something to bring them out there. Because I know if I was a turkey, I wouldn't want to go out there and just tromp around in a mud field. I mean, why? You can go into the woods where it's dry, it's a little softer.
Well, especially how you had it disc too. I don't remember what you called it, but where it broke it up a lot bigger. Like they're not going to walk on all that either.
Yeah. Yeah. Which all that's gonna stop. So just had to do it this year so I could get this planting in, and then hopefully not having to work any more ground. So
right. Yeah. So should be better moving forward. We'll see. And like I said, I'm definitely going to consider asking around and stuff. It's not going to hurt anything, especially if I'm, it's probably going to be easiest to get the permission to do the trapping and stuff because that's an obvious problem. It's very easy to persuade people that they're a nuisance and they need to go. But maybe that'll give me a little leverage, like for maybe getting us another turkey spot in case, that's the other thing too. Got all that acreage and pretty much the birds stay gobbling together. Like in years past, we've heard them from different directions, but this year they were all in one area at a time. That maybe we could target a different spot or something like that too if they are moved off. So
and maybe they were more hanging together because of predators. That more eyes is better than one or whatever, so it could be part of it too. They're just
I guarantee each other out. Regardless of if that's our main issue here, I guarantee that is a big problem regardless, because there's very few turkey hunters. I'm pretty sure I'm the only trapper like within a, 20-mile radius of that place. That's something that's dying off more and more every year. Stephen Ranella
nobody wants to do it because they're not worth nothing.
Right. Which I don't get that. It's still a lot of fun. And I've got a coon hide over here. You've got the coyote hide from the one you shot. Got all the bobcats and the fox mounted. Like I don't know, stuff's still just cool to me. I'm planning on trying to make like a couch throw or something out of some coon hides. Like there's stuff you can do with it, but I guess I don't know. Most people aren't as into all that, I guess, as I am. But Oh well.
Well, you know, when I was younger, I was big into coon hunting with dogs. Loved it.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to do it like when Stacy and I come up there together sometime. But I don't know. She likes coon dogs for some reason, and so she's wanting to hear like some of your coon hunting stories. Like, oh my, he's got plenty of them. So yeah, we'll have to
Well,
do a
that I do.
podcast of coon hunting stories sometime soon.
Oh yeah.
I got a lot of them actually that we need to. I've been kind of behind because we've been fishing and turkey hunting and all kinds of crazy stuff. I went to Florida, but we got like we need to have a bee podcast and
Oh, you still got to do the buck hut one about the buck hut,
yeah, the big poppy one.
the big poppy one. Yeah,
Yeah, I need to get
I
back.
know.
I was doing like 2 a week, and then yeah, I mean that's if I'm not out in the woods experiencing this stuff, I'm not going to have anything to talk about. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a necessary evil.
Well, it was like me last night going out there to the bees. Welcome to a surprise. Oh, holy cow! What the heck am I going to do now?
Right.
I got to try to separate this and make 2 colonies.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yep.
we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to do that one soon. Because I want to get that one out there since that's growing and kind of taking off, and I think that's a pretty good idea. So.
Well, and it's gonna. I've been talking with your mom and actually went to Lowe's today and got some more plywood to build. I watched. I'll give the shout out to Barnyard Bees because he raises a lot of mated queens himself. Has a bunch of boxes and he does it all from a 2-frame box. That's how he raises all his mating queens, and it looked like it ought to work pretty easy. So I'm gonna build some and I'm gonna try it too. You can grow more colonies that way, and you can also grow more mated queens to sell if you need to sell them. So I'm gonna give it a shot. You ain't gonna know until
Right.
you try.
Exactly. Might as well. Got to find out what works best for what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, it's like your mom said earlier today. She's like, a lot has changed really quickly for us doing this. When you started out with one hive, you're a little scared. You don't want to kill them, lose them, and all that. And now when you jump to 5,
Yeah.
maybe 6, then it's like, okay, you might as well try something. It's not going to hurt.
That's what I remember we talked about sitting out there during turkey season. Like the goal was to get it like self-sustaining so that like, we have really hard winters here and stuff like that, if you do lose one, it's no big deal, whatever. You can just replace it pretty easily.
Yeah, but like speaking of Barnyard Bees again, he doesn't use any 10-frame deeps. He builds all his bees from 5-frame nukes. So his overwintering is a lot better. He doesn't hardly lose any bees because they're smaller. So there's less number of bees, and the boxes are smaller, so they hold the heat in better. So you don't lose them.
Right.
So something for me to think about. I still want to keep some deeps just for raising honey. So we can get some honey flow, but some of the other parts, as far as raising nukes and queens, and we'll get into that.
Sounds good to me.
So,
if there's money to be made, it always sounds good to me.
Yeah, well, there's just so many ways to do it with bees.
Right.
I never realized it.
We'll get into that on the next one.
Yep.
All righty. Well, it's good to talk to you about our miserable turkey season. Hopefully
hopefully deer season isn't like that.
Hey, I know.
Of course, I lucked out. I got mine early, but then during all the gun season and the rest of the season after that was just unreal.
Yeah. No, this will be better though. This year will be. And
well, we
the thing
need
about
some
that
more
too,
deer meat in the freezer, so we're going to be letting some arrows fly at some does early season.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that was the other thing I forgot to mention though, was like deer season. It's kind of hard to say you had a horrible deer season because it lasts so long. Like eventually you're going to see something, but like turkey season, I'm pretty sure when I was growing up, turkey season was a definite 4 weeks, and it was a day short of 3 weeks this year, so it wasn't even a full 3 weeks. I don't know.
Well, I looked back at last year, and it was 3 weeks last year too.
Yeah, but I could have swore maybe it's because I was adding in the youth season. maybe that's why I thought it was like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It had me confused too.
Because it's
Because actually, I
3.
think back when I was younger, it was only like 2 weeks.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers. Maybe that's why the population has gotten as high as it has from doing that. But as far as harvest opportunities, yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That's always been the hard thing though for us. Like I mean, you had a really good stint, kind of the few years that I took off from hunting. You and Grandpa just you both tagged out, I believe, one year, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
First
then you,
time I'd ever done that.
and you killed your biggest turkey ever. It was like 30 pounds, and
Yeah, and they would just they were coming to the calls. I mean, the first time I got that year, I saw him. He was in the neighbor's field, shoot, 250 yards away. I mean, he was way out there by himself, and I just started calling. I brought him all the way in,
yeah,
just like a puppet on a string. But it
right,
hasn't happened since then.
right,
I think the puppet on the string's been going the other direction.
yeah, yeah. And I don't really know too much that's changed since then. I mean, yeah, you got you and the neighbor living up there now, but you're way off from where they're usually crossing anyways. So
But they're still coming crossing right through here,
yeah,
after it's built. I mean, it
just
before season started, so they know it's here.
yeah. But
Oh, I got a phone call to get rid of.
oh, okay. Yeah, but okay, still there. Making sure we're gonna lose you
Okay.
before I start talking. Uh, but yeah, I don't unless like because last year it kind of seemed that they had already gotten their mating season over with beforehand. Maybe that's part of what went on too, is that temperature change and all stuff like that. The season's kind of shifting. Maybe that's something they need to adjust to, like move it a week earlier or a week later or something like that. I would say
Well,
earlier this year, considering we saw the Tom out there strutting before season, but I don't know.
well, and I know that's the worst part because MDC is the whole entire state of Missouri, but the southern part of Missouri
Yeah,
is a lot different than the northern part of Missouri.
a
So
lot different.
especially with temperatures and weather and all that, it makes it really rough because like somebody's gonna be in an area where the weather's really bad and the birds don't want to cooperate, or and it goes the same for deer season too. Being
Right.
an area where the weather's bad, and I don't know. I think that, but there's nothing. I guess there's nothing you can do about that. You're just, I
Right.
guess you can move.
Right. Well, and I mean, even so, they clock it a season or a week forward next season. It could be completely different that year to where you needed to see or a week later. So it's hard to say. That's
Yeah.
what I was listening to one of the Cameron Haynes podcasts. He's going all around because he's got his new book out and whatnot. But he was just talking about like how much goes into hunting because like you have to be like a master of like multiple crafts, like whether it's the scouting, the woodsmanship, the butchering. Kind of got to be a bit of a biologist. Like all these different skills. People just think you're going around drinking beer and fucking shooting and shit, and that's not really how it works. It's actually
No,
really freaking hard.
not if you want to be successful.
Yeah, and it's hard to be successful at it. I mean,
And yeah, there's a lot of different aspects to go into each one too. Turkey hunting is so much different than deer hunting. So
yeah, and that's the thing.
you pretty
We
much got to
could
know it all.
we could probably be really good at just one, but that's my favorite thing about the outdoors and why I've really gotten so into this and all that. It's because like I'm horrible at. I had Jason over here like a month ago or so, and he was asking me about like a 3D printer or something. I'm like, yeah, I kind of figured it out. Once I figured it out, I wasn't really interested in it anymore. He's like, oh, same old Jacob. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Because like once I figure something out, I'm not too into it anymore. Like that's a nice part about having all these different seasons and being interested in all these different things in the outdoors. Like it's one into the next. So I could get really good at just bow hunting for deer, but I want to trap and I want to catfish and bass fish and you know.
Which, just like the trapping, that was something that you just recently got into the past couple of years. And even so with that, that's something that you're still going to learn on every year, because
Oh
the
yeah,
animals, the weather changes and affects them, and just the ground, the area that you're trapping is different than the area over here. So you got to do something a little different. And
right,
yeah, it all has that aspect of,
right.
whatever
And
you're hunting,
that's another thing
you
they
got to know what
asked
you're
him.
doing.
Another thing, one of the people, the podcast host asked him too, was like, they there's just like 10,000 hour rule, which is like the amount of time you have to put into something to like master a craft. So if that's welding or painting or whatever it is, and he's like, yeah, yeah, like I kind of like maybe that'll get you good at like shooting a bow or something like that. But he's like, I've seen, he's like, I've been doing this for 34 years or something like that. And I still make mistakes in the woods. Like this is something you're never going to master, but you can reduce the
You're always
risk in a
learning.
lot of
You're
areas.
always learning.
Yeah, that's something I
Yeah.
love about it.
If
And
you're not learning anymore, then you're not doing it right.
exactly, like you could really dwell on the fact that like these this turkey season, deer season were kind of rough or whatever, but that's the thing. You're always learning. You've got a little piece of information that you can move into the next season.
Which is, kind of like what we're doing here this year with changing the way we're planting and what we're doing to the soil and stuff like that. So hopefully to make it better for the deer and the turkey.
Exactly.
So that's, and then, we'll see how it grows and how all that comes about. And if it works this year, then, maybe do something a little different, a little better next year.
Right.
Yeah, what you don't know until you try. That's for sure. You got to start
Yep.
somewhere.
So I guess we'll see how it goes, and everyone will get an update for how it is moving forward. So yeah, we got gonna have B podcast probably next, and then at some point we're gonna do the whole buck hut thing and the big poppy story, and then it'll be catfishing and all that. So any of that interests you, stick around, and that'll be out eventually when I'm not out implementing all that stuff.
Well, just before I get off here, since we got the big red in the background, we got all the spring planting pretty much done. And the past couple of days have gotten some really good rain showers, no gully washers, and everything is growing. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Alrighty. Well,
it's looking good.
cool. I'm excited. This thing's about to kick me off here, so I will talk to you later. I guess it's
Okay.
got a timed thing now. I don't know what's going on. I guess I got to upgrade it. So, alrighty. Thanks for doing this.
All right. We'll see you.
Talk to you later.
Bye.